Hey, I was thinking, and so I wanted to come on here and share my thoughts with you. As you may know, during the month of October, I am reading from my book, The Beautiful Journey. I'm sharing my own personal experiences going through cancer. Now, everybody is different. These just happen to be mine. I cannot, when I'm reading this book, I cannot believe this is my life. Like, still, it seems so surreal to me. Like, really? It seemed like a lifetime ago, but it really was not that long ago. But my previous video, I talked about facing giants. I talked about the story of David and Goliath, the giant, had to be defeated, right? And my giant was cancer at the time. And so I had to go face that thing head on so that I could be victorious. To say that I wasn't afraid would be a lie. I was, but I was holding on to my faith and I was trusting the process. I started chemo on December 21st of that year. Now, mind you, I was diagnosed on October 8th, so we're 2.5 months gone by. And I remember asking the doctor, like, if we waited all this time, why can't we just wait till after the holiday? Like, that just seems to make sense. Let me enjoy time with my family. And he thought that I would do fine. So he said, you should be good. So I said, okay, what do I know? The only thing that I knew is what I had seen on TV and what I had seen with my sister at the time. But by the time I saw her, she was very much in stage 4 and things of that nature. So it was already bad by the time I saw her with her cancer. I remember going there. They gave me some Pepsid through the IV. They wanted to put that on my stomach in case the medication made me feel queasy. They gave me steroids, and I'm thinking that was to reduce any adverse effects, or if I had some kind of allergic reaction, to reduce that as well. And then it was time for the chemo drugs. I think it was 2 different ones that I had to take. And with each one, they administered it very slowly. They wanted to ensure that I didn't have any major reactions to them. And so I did fine. I felt good after the fact. I had a lot of energy, probably because of the steroids. Went to lunch afterwards, ate, and then the next day I had to go back to get a shot. And this particular shot was to help boost my white blood cells. Those are the ones that's going to fight infections. And because my body was going to be depleted of everything, I needed to have some protection. And so I went to get the shot. That's what did me in. I never really had any issues, as far as I know, in regards to the chemo drugs. It was that shot that took its toll on me. I remember on Christmas Eve, my family, we would get together and I couldn't drive. I was in so much pain. I felt like someone had taken some pliers or something and was squeezing the skull of my head, on top of my head, squeezing the bottom of my feet, my knees, like everything, every bone was aching. And all I could do at the Christmas Eve party, while everyone is enjoying each other and food and drinks, I was on the couch balled up. People would come check on me to see if I'm okay, but that's all I could give. I was in so much pain. And then Christmas came and I couldn't even go to my aunt's house to eat that, that year because I was in so much pain. They ended up having to bring me some food. It was horrible, horrible. And I didn't want to call the hospital or my doctor's office or the doctor on call on Christmas. But I had to, because I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. And there was nothing they could do except tell me to wait till this wears off. It'll be gone eventually. That was the last time that I got that medication because I was not, I would rather sit in the house by myself alone for 6 months and not be around anybody than to have to get that shot again. And fortunately, my body did well in recouping with white blood cells. So I made it through and I didn't get an infection. But as I'm reading about during this time, I remember, one of the side effects with chemo is hair loss. So I was preparing for that and I had bought some wigs. So I had my best friend come over and she brought her three daughters with her, which are my godchildren. I call them my raggeties. She brought them over and I was trying on all the wigs. And I remember the oldest raggedy, who was probably maybe 8 at the time. I mean, she was not that old. She was 7. She asked why I was trying on wigs, and I told her, I was doing it just in case my hair fell out. And then she asked, "Do you have cancer?" Now, this is a 7-year-old. And I was caught off guard because, of course, I hadn't shared anything with them about that. But I responded truthfully and told her I did and asked her how she knew about it. And she said she remembers seeing a little girl on TV without hair and she had cancer. And then she said, "I don't want you to die." That broke my heart because even though I know I was not going through this journey by myself, I never took into account my little babies and how they would feel about this. And she worried the entire journey. I felt so bad. But this is not just a disease that the person who has it is fighting and is dealing with it. So many people are affected when somebody's diagnosed. Yeah. But I tell you, it was something. I had side effects from the chemo eventually that showed up during that time. One was something dealing with my eye. I had to go and see an eye doctor because I had floaters. And basically, they told me I had a blockage in my blood vessel in my eye and that it needed to heal itself. But then, just when that went away, all of a sudden I started having fingertips that were hurting. Neuropathy is really what it was. I didn't know at the time, but I just started having some issues. But in all of this, I was trusting God. I was able to bring in the new year, still alive, still with life ahead of me. And I brought it in with church, or at church, I guess I should say. But then, I was having a conversation with my friend, and this was so funny to me. And I'm looking at it here in the book, which is why I'm laughing. Because my raggedy was not dealing with it well. She kept saying, maybe we shouldn't use the word chemo. Maybe we should use K instead. And I said, what is K for? Like, chemo does not begin with a K. I laughed so hard. But, it kind of made me think if you saw the story that I talked about before when I was at the pharmacist and I said X as in xylophone. And the lady was like, why would you say xylophone? Like it should be ex-boyfriend. It's kind of the same thing. But I did eventually lose my hair probably 3 weeks after my chemo. Yeah, about 3 weeks. And I remember I was in the mirror and my hair just started falling out. Now it's painful. Like I was able to tell that something was happening. And so I had prepared, I had some clippers. I was just going to cut my hair. And so I started and I had cut the sides off and was going to have a mohawk. But then when I pulled the top, that was just coming out too. So I called my two best friends. They came over and we cut my hair. Then my one friend said, you know what? We should have a hair burning ceremony. Like you are not your hair, right? We're going to celebrate that you can take control of this. So we got some aluminum foil. We put the hair on top of that and put it in the sink and we set it on fire and it burned. And all of a sudden the smoke detectors started going off in my house. It was the silliest thing. And I'm thinking to myself, like, your husband is a whole fireman, and you up here have us about to start a fire saying, let's do a hair burning ceremony. But fortunately, all was well. And it was one of those things that I had to, it was an adjustment. I was never a person who had a lot of hair, but I was not one who had none, as far as I knew. When I was a baby, maybe, yes. But now, at any point, I always had hair. So, it was one of those things. I remember another friend of mine sent me a message and said, "You are not your hair. You are not your hair. Like, that's not where your beauty comes from." And so I was like, okay. Now, mind you, I had bought those wigs, so I was ready, but I never wore them. I ended up just being a person who wore scarves. I just found different scarves to match different outfits. Like people, I was singing in the choir still at church. People didn't even know I was going through cancer because I didn't look like someone who was going through cancer, at least the people that I had seen on the TV. Um, but I just wanted to share that with you. And I will share this as well, because since I didn't look like I was going through cancer, people didn't know. And that is a lesson for all of us because we never know what someone is going through just by looking at them. And so be kind. We get this one chance at life. So we might as well use it being kind to one another, to love one another. And so that's the message that I want to share with you all today. Take care of yourself, and I'll be back with you tomorrow. Bye bye.